This video is going to be about Chapter 3, which is called Attack by Stratagem, which emphasizes the importance of using cunning tactics to gain advantages over opponents. And I'm going to break down some key points from the chapter, and then I'm going to put it in context to performance and how you can use it in a competitive space, and how you can use his teachings in that space, whether it be work, whether it be sports, or whatever else you find yourself in when it comes to competition and where you are performance reliant. So let's get into it. So what's the importance of stratagem? Well, Sun Tzu stresses the significance of employing stratagems in warfare, asserting that it's essential for success. And that implies that relying solely on brute force is not sufficient, but you will also have to use intelligence and cunning to outmaneuver the enemy. So if you want to put that in context to performance, well, if you solely rely on the obvious tactics or direct confrontation, you may not yield the optimal results based on where you are in your life. Whereas if you employ strategic thinking and clever maneuvers, you can gain a significant advantage. Now, that can be done by, for example, you not being good at going to the fitness, and you think you should do it like 5-6 times a week, just right from the get-go. Well, what about first, instead of taking on this huge task, put it into like smaller goals? So what about just going to the gym 5 to 6 times a week, so you get into the habit of actually going there, and then you don't even have to work out that much, or even do it, like, just get the habit. And when you have the habit in, then it's going to be easier to continuously going down there, because then you're going to miss the feeling of being active and being down there. Now, there's Sun Tzu, he delineates various types of stratagems, which is both the inclusion of spies, deception, feigning weaknesses, and exploiting the enemy's vulnerabilities. Understanding the different strategies and deploy as the attacking force, you have to employ different variations of strategies and different strategies altogether to try and catch the defense off guard, and the defense has to be adapting and continuously to what they think the enemies, the attackers, are going to do on each given round. That's a way for you to try and adapt and use different strategies. Yeah, so the next point he emphasizes is the flexibility and adaptability. So he emphasizes that he advocates for the ability to adjust tactics based on changing circumstances and the actions of the opponents. That means if you see something happen on the field, you have to be reactive. So if the enemies or your opponents or your opposition is proactive in some area, you have to be reactive in a way that either counters it or helps you get on the same step and the same level as they are. And you have to be able to pivot and respond to it. So if you can be reactionary to how the opposition you face, how they do their things, well, then you have a greater chance of victory. Exploiting weaknesses. Well, Sun Tzu, he talks about exploiting these weaknesses to gain an advantage. And that could be targeting areas where your opponent is vulnerable and capitalizing on it. So if you know that the enemy support player in League of Legends never roams, well, and then you can have a counter where your jungler and your support is going to roam together and gain all the vision and take over the entire map. Now, that's a very obvious weakness, and that's not going to happen. If your wingback always runs forward in football when they start to do the play up, and then there's a big hole, you can have like a fast winger exploit that big gap and that big hole that's going to be in the defense at that point. Again, very simple examples, but it gets the job done. And psychological warfare. Now, Sun Tzu recognizes it as trying to influence the enemy's perceptions and actions, where creating confusion or sowing discord or manipulating emotions is key to doing this. Now, in context to performance, this is this is the shit talking before the game, the trash talking during the game. You yelling at the enemies, calling out their names, and trying to frustrate them and get into their head, as they say. And if you get into their head, then you have an easier time knowing what they are going to do, and you can get them on a tilt. If you get them to tilt, you have a greater advantage of victory in that sense. So overall, for this chapter, It underscores the importance of strategic thinking, adaptability, and psychological insight in achieving victory. Its principles are applicable not only to warfare, but also to the other domains, competition and performance and business, and everywhere where performance is a thing, and you are based on, like, you are valued and evaluated upon performance. Well, you can use the teachings from this incredible book.